And we now move to President Bola Tinubu has inaugurated the Implementation Committee of the National Youth Conference at the Senate House, Abuja. The president said professionals who left Nigeria in search of better opportunities will be encouraged to return as a result of these economic reforms. He said the jackpot trend would eventually reverse as economic conditions improve, promising to do everything to make Nigeria a better place for young people and Nigerians. President Tinubu says ease with the youth as they hold the advancement of this economy in their hands. According to President Tinubu, his administration's policies were designed to create prosperity, particularly for young Nigerians who constitute over 60% of the population.
Youth inclusion in Nigeria just got a major boost. 6 months after President Bola Tinubu announced plans for a 30-day National Youth Conference, a committee has been inaugurated to turn this vision into reality. This conference aims to tackle the concerns of young Nigerians, and the committee has its work cut out. The National Youth Conference is expected to bring together young people from across the country to develop solutions to issues such as education, employment, innovation, security, and social justice.
You are the heartbeat of our nation, and I hope you take this opportunity very seriously. I am with you.
President Tinubu insists youth have a great opportunity to advance the development of the country. He has promised to help navigate the country through the tough roads of development. He also acknowledged young Nigerians in government who have been exceptional.
Mine is to assure you that we do everything to make Nigeria a better place for you. But we can't do it alone. You represent over 60% of our population. One of you, Dr. Boko, is here. NDDC, good afternoon. Commending your efforts. It's doing very well.
In a promising move, the newly inaugurated committee has given President Bola Tinubu its word that young Nigerians will have a seat at the table. The committee vowed to ensure inclusivity in gathering input from youth as the country works to build a system that supports its young people.
This is completely insulated from partisanship, and by the diversity of people on the planning committee, it is very clear that the intention is a confab for all Nigerians, irrespective of their geographical or political extraction.
If we have 30 days unstopped, then we need to go back and put everything together and see, okay, what can we do? How can we go back to the grassroots? Start from there first. And the president I've just said is with us, and it's ready to implement in as much as for the development of the young people.
This confab is not going to be like the ones that we've held before. This is going to go down to the communities.
This is a significant step towards addressing the concerns of young Nigerians who make up over 60% of the population. With the committee's inauguration, the stage is set for a meaningful dialogue that could shape the future of Nigeria's youth.
And joining me live is the Speaker of the Plateau State Youth Parliament, Honorable Jerry Gum, and of course, interesting. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Interesting conversation we'll be having, and that has to do with the implementation of the committee for the National Youth Conference that is coming up. President Tinubu is supposed to do that, and it seems like the National Youth Conference will finally happen. And this is something that the youth has been clamoring for, to have a seat at the table and discuss the issues that concerns with the youth, most especially. What is your take on the fact that this administration even thought about this in the first place? We know we had one during the Buhari administration.
Yes.
This is what makes the difference for you in both.
Well, for me, for this one particularly, the thing is, we've actually clamored for inclusiveness in governance, and the Buhari administration, the Tinubu administration, President Tinubu administration, has seen it, has taken it serious to involve the level of involvement. You see, in every quarter, youth are involved. The youth parliament, the speaker is involved, and all of it. So our prayer here is that mostly, we do all of these things, but implementation political rhetorics and all of it, we'd still go back to the same level. But with this level of involvement and the duration, taking about 1 month for this, is giving us confidence that this administration is taking youth seriously and is willing to involve us in governance.
Okay, so there are discussions that you, of course, will be eventually had at this particular conference, and where the committee, of course, will have to table in terms of after they finally put the paperwork together.
Yes.
You look at how the youth make up a great population of Nigeria.
Yes.
And you, as a speaker of the Plateau State Youth Parliament, tell us what some of the challenges that affects the youth and how this confab can help reduce it.
Okay, from the perspective of Plateau State, you see, we have our clear issues. Like
it's just
not Plateau State.
It's particular to Plateau State.
Not particular to Plateau State, okay, but right. You know, every state have its unique issues, but our challenges in Plateau State are very unique because of the kind of challenges we face.
All right.
Because we have the insecurity, all the conflicts, and all of that. You know, it's one of the factors that affect and make our own state unique, and also. The setting, like agricultural settings, the mining stuff, you know, and all of it make our state unique in all the issues. But what we're looking at will be discussed on the youth confab, majorly unemployment and underemployment for the youth. We're also looking at issues of infrastructural decay. You go to our communities, you see schools are dead, schools dilapidated, hospitals, primary health cares, and all of it. And we need youth-driven policies that will be able to position us to access facilities, to access loans for businesses and all of it.
But all of these things that you've spoken about it's a general thing that is affecting the Nigerian youth.
Yes.
Not just peculiar to
not just peculiar to Plateau State. Yes.
So let's look at that in that broader perspective. How do you think that if these discussions have been heard, it will reduce some of the challenges, you know, that we face as the Nigerian youth?
You see, first, the issue of end bad governance, end SARS, those issues evolve because of systemic neglect of the clamors of the youths. But if this government is able to implement all these issues that are being raised by youth, it's really, one, employment, if that is focused, because you see, if you have a 60% of youth that are denied from real employment, they'll be involved in crimes. They'll be employed by bandits and all of this. Any means. We talk about Yahoo and all of this. You know, but once if the government is able to put all of these things in place, hearken to the clamor of the youth, involve us in government. For example, if the government can pass a law and says, let 30% of state budget be spent on youth-focused programs, you see, the youth are going to be engaged. Sports is dead. It's one way that youth can fully be involved too. You understand? So once we have all these things in place, I think it's going to take this youth off the streets. It's going to take the youth out of crime, illegal mining, and a lot of stuff. And we're going to channel our energy well. If we look at Digital Bridge Institute, government can use that too to be able to equip our youth in digital literacy. You know, but if we have to pay for all these things and all that, we're also looking at if government is able to give a subsidy on our education, because these loans that we're talking about, a lot of people won't be able to afford even to pay because there are no even job for you to pay afterward. So let's get subsidy on education. Let's get digital literacy using this Digital Bridge Institute. They can train a lot of minds, and we're going to channel our energy positively even in the digital world, not resulting to crimes and scamming and all of that. Thank you.
Yeah, so, you know, I was listening to one of the speakers at that particular event, and that is, of course, Samuel Itodo, where he spoke about that, where he listed some of the areas of priority to disclose. He said, including political governance, economic transformation, skills for the future, such as artificial intelligence, climate change, energy transition, social cohesion, and security. And he said something very striking. He said the framework will include virtual consultations, calls for memoranda, regional town hall meetings, and the Abuja conference. So before all of this before the conference happened, there must be a wider consultation.
Yes, there is.
Tell us how this wider consultation can help put everybody on the same table, because like you said, there are diverse issues that affect the different regions of the country. But how do we channel all of this into one place and say, okay, this is the way to go, and not have different voice on the same table?
Okay, so to an extent, I think the consultation was reasonable, because the involvement of all the youth organizations from the state level, that was carried and was factored, and people were picked to represent different sections of the youth bodies. So with that, I think everything is going to be channeled without having some groups coming to say that we're not fairly represented or this, because if you check youth parliament is there. We talk about this also group, what do we call it? NANS are there. We talk about what do we call it? Well, I can't really recall.
But some of the youth,
majority of the youth organizations are represented in this. And beforehand, or before the conference, they are already consulted. People have pushed in their memos and all of that, which I believe they're going to synchronize all this and put it into one idea. But our focus is that if they're able to have a system that will also be able to monitor all of these things, and we get yearly updates to see the progress. If government says we're going to do this at the end of the year, we have organizations like Enough is Enough. If government can also engage them to monitor implementations, and we get yearly updates and make it public that people can access, and we can also have real-time updates to see that these things are actually being implemented, and we monitor them. Year one, we can say, okay, this is how far we have gone. Year two, we can say this and all that. That will also build confidence.
Talking about monitoring and having to implement all of this, the president has promised to ensure that, that the nation becomes a better place for young people to thrive. If you look at that, simply means that, all of the formation of everything that the National Youth Confab, bring to the table, the president will now look at it, the executive will now look at it and say, okay, these are some of the things that have been recommended. Do you think that this can fully be achieved? And if you look at it, how can he do all of these, in the space of how many years? He just have 2 years. Maybe he will not have to contest to fully implement. Or is just something that will be, it's not something for this administration alone? Because, every administration comes with their own idea. So what do you think?
It's the political will that matters. And we're confident that this administration have that political will to do that. And with the energy that President Tinubu is going, we're very confident that this will come to pass.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You know why I asked that question? Because most of the time we hear promises.
Yes.
And the problem is now that when we hear those promises, they at the point of implementation becomes a challenge. And that with this confab that is coming up, do you think that all of the things that will be brought to the table is realistic, first, to discuss, and two, how would they be, fulfilled? Aside from promises, let's have the implementation, because most of the times what we hear is just that the implementation period is not factored in well.
Yes, as I earlier said, the issues we had with previous conventions like this is implementation. But right now, we're proffering that the government employ different agencies to monitor implementation, because it is easy to achieve all this when you have organizations that will go on for monitoring and evaluation. And we have organizations like Enough is Enough, I said that. And we can even engage more to monitor. And in the monitoring, they give us real time. When we have questions, we ask. We give us yearly updates, make everything public. With that, it's not rocket science. Lots of nations have achieved that. And in Nigeria, previous years, before we begin, even in military regime, things were even much better. You understand? But right now, we believe that these things, with the willingness, because the most important thing is that the government has shown willingness and readiness to implement. Because look at who has ever had a national convention for 1 month, engaging people, writing policies, and all of that. With all the systemic procedures going on, we're sure it's actually building confidence, and we believe in this government that they're going to make that possible. Interesting.
Thank you very much, Honorable Jerry Gom, the Speaker, Youth Parliament of the Plateau State.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
We'll go on a